You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guests are seated now, and they are Abdul Malik Kukubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, our regular panelist, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP, North Tong, Dr. Justice Yankson, General Secretary, the Ghana Medical Association, and lawyer, and also lawyer Martin Pebu. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on Newsfile.
You're welcome. Thank you, Samson.
Right. And so we begin with the matter that has taken quite a bit of dominance on the front pages and the headlines this week, and for which, if the treatment is not carefully handled, may damage the country's reputation further as far as the treatment of journalists is concerned. 3 journalists have been charged with stealing and unauthorized access to electronic records of Peace FM, and they were brought to court yesterday, but they were discharged because the attorney generals or prosecutors, right after filing the charges, also announced to the court that they had some issues, including some new development, and so they would like to do some things. So they have been discharged. Now the story is already well known, so let's not belabor the point. I'd like to start first for us to listen to one of the journalists, Ajafo, who is the deputy editor of the Modern Ghana News portal. He says he was manhandled, tortured by national security. And we'll hear other persons, Kwesi Pratt Jr., the GJA president, and yes, the GJA president, and then the Media Foundation for West Africa. And after that, we'll come to the studio and have a discussion.
And they gave it to me.
You mean continuous slapping?
Yes. Because this person will slap, then this person will also continue.
Already your hands were tied behind?
Yes. So this person gives, this person follows. So back and back from here. You understand? And then I should stand up. I should go. I should go through another phase, which is a military style.
You mean after all this drill,
yes,
you had to go through another process of drilling? And which one was it?
So I had to lean against a wall with my legs up and my legs down.
You mean upside down?
Yeah.
As if you're exercising?
As if I'm doing a push-up with my legs up. I lean against a wall.
Upside down?
Yeah.
So your legs were up?
My legs were up.
And then?
Down.
On the ground?
On the ground.
Who was lifting you up? You did it yourself?
I did it myself.
And then what happened?
Because they untied my...
And then what happened?
So they told me to be there. So I did and did to a point I could no more do. Then the guy came. All of a sudden the guy came, 1 hour. The guy came and gave me a heavy slap on my back. Right. And I fell. And he told me that do hand press and stand up. And I did hand press, did hand press. He said, stand up. And I said, I can't stand up. Then he put his hand under, he put his hand here. You know, I laid down flat. So he put his hand here and lifted me up. So he lifted me up this way. Then
can you lie down and do that?
No, someone else could have to do that. So I laid down flat.
So something like this?
Yeah, so something like this. So the guy lifted me this way, you know, and pulled this way. You see? So this way, when I was this way, then the other guy came. And then here, you see, and he hit me and I fell flat.
On your spine?
Yes, on my spine. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
On my spine. I fell flat.
We need to have a fair-minded, independent body to establish the full facts. The police cannot be trusted to establish the full facts, given their conduct, especially with regards to the abuse of journalists. Some journalists have been abused by the police, and it took a whole lot of struggle to get the police to act. In some instances, more than a year or so. So given the conduct of the police, I'll be surprised if we took a position that let's wait for the police report. What police report? We need an independent, fair-minded body to establish the full facts.
To say the least, the GJ is shocked to the marrow to hear the magnitude of the alleged torture of the two journalists. On the grounds of democratic principles, freedom and independence of the media, and the tradition of defending the rights of journalists, the GJA unequivocally condemns the processes and procedures adopted in seeking justice over the cybercrime allegedly committed by the two journalists. The GJA has a constitutional, legal, ethical, moral, and godly responsibilities to rally to the defense of all journalists in their line of duty, and we shall not flinch from doing so under any circumstance. The GJA is indeed overly worried and concerned about attacks of scandalous frequency on journalists in recent times. Such attacks corrode our international image and dim the beacon of our democracy. Therefore, we call for an independent investigation into the alleged torture.
We've gotten to a situation where it's about rule of force and not rule of law. I think that it must be embarrassing for the government for this to have happened. I can't contemplate what would justify the nature and manner in which we've heard these people were picked up, and now we are hearing that they were tortured. I think, as I said earlier, it's something that is deeply embarrassing for our country. Those of us within this space have received several calls from the international community. Some of them saying, we've read this about Ghana, but we don't believe this could happen in Ghana. Can you confirm it for us? You know, and so I think government must immediately take steps to ensure that, yes, if these people have committed any offense or any crime, they are handled in accordance with the law and not on the basis of who has power and who can teach anybody a lesson on the basis of deploying national security to do what we are told happened. Again, the worrying phenomenon is that from Ayawaso, West Wogon, and so on and so forth, our national security establishment perhaps has reputational issues to deal with.
Right, so the last voice you heard there is Suleimana Brahima of the Media Foundation for West Africa. So we begin the discussion right away, but it may be important to also share with you something that we have seen already circulating on social media, but we can authenticate. We have verified that it is accurate. One of the journalists, Emmanuel Brichum, had earlier spoken to people and multiples of witnesses and said that he had been assaulted, but subsequently a statement issued by his lawyer said that he had not, and that is false. So let's listen to him 2 days before the denial, what he said at the police station, at Ministries Police Station. He spoke to Kingdom FM. Let's listen.
When Ministry Police Station, Yenuanum Central for Emmanuel Ajavo, Sabede, Posifana said, and Penfa Sach, Ebium, Yanko, Yenia Justice Bedu, na Yeno and Concodi and Como, na Yan Chester and Etie. Justice, what you mean, Kayamado?
I'm a Timonka.
You now, Sabre, a Hifana Ujana, and then Equaso.
Midina Ministry Police Station and Nimha. Yenuanum Emmanuel Ajavo. And Emmanuel Brichum, na anope amoko national security no national security for Sunday mobile ministry police station ha into ye dey by Jamiado meba na ye two omopenyin ankasa so ha na ye ba no na Emmanuel Ajafo chron statement and na chron be frame Emmanuel Brichum so call enti se say gina ha no ya grant on bail enti omo no wa ha me pese me di phone ma omu ba ko na mo makasa
yo imani anase bentum nie
bentum nie
yo na boy amanya kakra na eba ne say esan afro mo dem call ministry police station
your friend is after mo fine Thursday I release me see release me Friday and me editor release me Saturday you so the any say say your friend is saying at the opportunity mo time you free office here story yeah for national security minister and no any idea enam so mo time you free office at the call national security on. But I don't know. Sorry, omudi atu across here say yeah akin to other media houses for system. As me nyanya no kwe. Ni say the omun ma ibia no ane say cobra. So you say enko ensansom that Tuesday.
Na bentum no kwe say omu tocha mom do omu sakeka mo kakra.
Minya ene de omuye ende ye fan to omuye
and they say no ma hospital there
ya hospital there okay yenya me ye hospital ba de ne ye ko ye ntimi anye any medical bia time I ko na se omo ya pon ba ye be san so akọ if ya say ya be ko no.
Right, so that's about it. And let me just make this 1 minute statement or 30 seconds if I can. And because of my involvement in seeking to assist in some way together with other lawyers, some matters have come up. All I want to say about the matters that have come up is that I choose to ignore, and I choose rather to sympathize with this particular journalist, knowing what I know that he may be going through. All right, so let me start with you, Honorable. You, of course, many times when these issues have come, you have also had to step in and state the matters about how journalists ought to be treated. Of course, journalists don't have to be treated any differently from any ordinary citizen of this country. Why is it that this issue, though you may say is isolated, we want to use it to say journalists are, suffering, like the GJA said at his press conference? Is it fair to do that?
Good morning, Samson, and good morning to the panel and to all our viewers and listeners across the world. I would like to begin by expressing my deepest sympathies with these journalists. The two journalists clearly have been through a harrowing experience. Listen to all accounts, the way and manner national security operatives stormed their modern Ghana offices, the way they were manhandled. They have rendered accounts about how black polythene bags were put over their heads forcefully, and they would have to scream before some space would be created for them to breathe out, because we all know the effect of a black polythene bag around your head without any ventilation.
Even before
whatsoever.
We go further, this is their account.
Their account.
So why are you not using alleged? Why are you saying this is it?
Their accounts,
okay,
from what they have said.
Thank you.
I mean, I must be clear on that. That's what they have said. And if you look at the circumstances, they have told us that before their arrest, they were called by national security operatives to pull down two particular stories. We live in a democratic country. There is freedom and independence of the media guaranteed by our constitution. Why should anybody be calling a journalist to pull down a story? I take issue with that. Unfortunately, instead of the journalists to ignore that demand, from what they have said, they proceeded to pull down the 2 articles. They have alleged that during the interrogation, nothing whatsoever to do with cybercrime came up, and that the operatives were only interested in those 2 articles pulled down earlier. They wanted to know the real identity of those who sent them those articles for publication. And we know that the articles, one had to do with the brewing University of Education Winneba issue, and the other one, we are told, had to do with a call on the National Security Minister to resign. Those are the 2 articles in issue. How is it that a statement was issued, not signed though, but from the National Security Secretariat? It has not been denied, so we would say that the statement emanated from their outfit. How is it that the statement tells the public that they are investigating cybercrime, but during the interrogation, that did not arise? Then the charges that they filed, which they discontinued yesterday, also had nothing to do with cybercrime.
Okay, sorry. If you look at the Electronic Transactions Act, the charges against them about stealing, it is not theft of items, it's cybercrime. When they speak about unauthorized access to someone's electronic record, that is cybercrime. Yes, so just a perspective.
Okay, so you are suggesting that the charges are inconsistent with the interrogation, because during the interrogation, at least from the side of the victims of the arrest, the torture, the manhandling, the dehumanizing treatment, the right abuses that they clearly suffered. I mean, I have no cause to doubt them. I've spoken to your other colleague on the case, Nick Pakpo Samuel Ado. I have his Facebook post here. I've also seen the medical report that is now in the public domain, and there's all of this, at least confirmation from the doctors of pains in the neck, body pains, and all of that. I wonder what kind of.
We have a doctor here.
Yes.
I suppose the doctor has a copy, so we will look at it.
So Samson, there are fundamental issues.
You see, I don't want to be actually getting in as much as possible. I want to stay back.
Yeah.
But there's a small bit also. It is not entirely accurate that during the interrogation at the National Security, when they picked them up on Thursday, and through the period, Brichum was released on Friday, and then Ajafo was released on Saturday. We know that part of the account is that even though it was about those publications that the National Security didn't like, during the interrogation, they took their laptops and phones, and Brichum was forced to open his laptop. And when he did, they saw that he had access to Peace FM's news general pool, where everybody throws in stories and then journalists generate stories from them. So that is where the cybercrime issue, can be related to. So that's
linked to the invitation of was the invitation or arrest of Mr. Obing Meno,
editor of Peace FM,
the editor of Peace FM. It's not clear to me whether having access to a password and using stories that go to Peace FM is the same as hacking. I've also not seen in all the facts that have emerged so far that Peace FM has complained that their website has been hacked, except if you have some information that, because you are closer to this case.
Confirms that they have not made any such complaint. And in fact, on Tuesday evening, the police had to go to Peace FM to now begin to talk to them about what they were going on with. But that small bit, the facts are that when they saw it, they asked him, do you work with Peace FM? He said, no. How do you have access? And he, from his own account, he told them he got it from the Peace FM editor. How come you don't work with Peace FM but you have the access? He says, the Peace FM editor is my employer. And he gave me the password, and I've been using it. I left his employment 2 months ago to join Modern Ghana. So why are you still using it? He says, I've not been denied using it. So that's it.
So clearly, Samson, if you look at the facts, if you consider what has been happening, because your question is, why are we using this case to generalize? My answer to you is that a certain pattern is emerging. And if you talk to practitioners, the journalists themselves, and now they are speaking out themselves. Your colleague here, Manasseh Azuri Awuni, earlier in the week, wrote that the practice of journalism, sadly, under President Akufo-Addo, under the current government, appears to be facing some challenges where the erstwhile NDC government under President Mahama, he stated categorically that President Mahama's administration
was tolerant,
was tolerant, more tolerant than the current administration. But you see something, I take issue.
But do you subscribe to that? Is it not possible to isolate individual actions of persons within a government and to call it government?
No, you see, when it becomes a pattern, when you have a situation where a journalist will have to be flown out, where you have a situation where something Adeti will have to be relocated, and you have
Edward
Adeti, thank you. You have a situation where media houses are being closed down, and even the way and manner they are closed down. If you want to close down, radio stations, do you go in that Gestapo style? Do you use that approach? You see, so a certain culture, is emerging, and we must speak to it. We must state clearly that that cannot continue. If you look at the statistics, clearly assault on journalists is on the rise. For the first time in our country's history, and I'm not linking this to government by no means, a journalist has been assassinated. Ahmed Swale. Then you take the press freedom rankings. Ghana has lost its #1 spot in Africa. We were ranked the best free media country in Africa. We were 23rd in the world. We have dropped to 27th, and only God knows what will be the next ranking. You read the Human Rights Report of the United States of America, the State Department, and they have also raised concerns. So when you look at all of these facts, it's not just an isolated issue. It's not just this matter. You see a certain pattern emerging, and it's as though some culture of impunity, wants to hold sway, where journalists cannot practice in total freedom without the fear of being attacked.
So you say the GJA's call for independent probe is what has to happen?
Yes, I support the GJA's call.
The police is doing its work. Pratt says we can't believe them, we can't trust the police to do this particular work. The GJA also says we can't trust the police to do this particular work. Is that the way to as it were, treat our institutions?
It's not the best. It's not the best. I would have wished that was not the narrative. But the question then to us is, now who caused them? how did we get here? The institutions themselves have not done well.
Okay, so
but before I round up, I wanted to state emphatically, and I do now, that the National Security Council has gone rogue, and the earlier we call them to order, the better. If you look at the Constitution of Ghana, you look at the Security and Intelligence Agencies Act at 526. The National Security Council, if you look at their functions, they have no business. They have no business raising an armed force like they did in the Ayawaso West Wagon matter. They have no business carrying out these arrests that they are doing, calling media houses to pull down stories and all of that.
I thought that by law, national security, like BNI, like IOCO, even like some persons of certain rank in the Attorney General, they have the powers of police. So they can do things that police do.
No, it means the Secretariat.
No, the Secretariat cannot. No power. It has no powers.
No. So really? BNI
yes. Okay.
And
okay, hold on. Let's listen to. Will you agree with, you know, Sami, in the manner he puts it? The Media Foundation for West Africa has been cataloguing abuses of journalists, and it had told us earlier that since January 2018, at least 11 journalists have come under one attack or the other from the public and even the police.
Okay.
Of course, we know Latif Idris' situation, which is life-threatening for that particular journalist, but the police will not own up. We know that Ghana since has lost, you know, its place as Africa's, you know, bastion of press freedom in the 2019 World Press Freedom Index. Yeah. We fell by 4 places. Should this matter be looked at in that lens? And is the GJA and those calling for independent probe, are they correct? Is it the way to look at this?
We have no option. Yeah, we really don't have any option because it appears the impunity is not going away. So the best we can do, and for GJA to say there should be an independent probe, that means we want due process. Yes, so it's a call for due process. That's why I say we have no option.
The process by the police, is that not due process that they were being put into to accept that, you know, that has been, you know, sort of backfired for now?
Exactly. So that's why. So this underpins the call for the setting up of the independent police commission. Is that a rendition? So that we'll have independent investigations of these matters. I'm sure you have been championing such a cause. It would help. It's not just only for the police and national security. Indeed, all the security agencies, so that once we have an independent arbiter, so to speak, to do the investigations, it would help. Because what has happened, seriously, I mean, for me, it's an irony, you know, an irony because, you know, generally, this government, in our Ghanaian history, generally, they are touted as more human rights friendly and all that. The president is a human rights champion.
The facts are there to show it.
Exactly, exactly.
Criminal libel, he championed the removal.
Yes.
A number of the good cases on media freedom, he championed them. Exactly. I go to court and defend journalists, and I use cases that he did.
Exactly, that's it. So I'm sure you're talking about most, one of them, the Radio I case, right? Rekubobi's case and all
MPP, GBC.
All that, yes, another very important case. And this morning, I was just, you know, reading up for this. I saw a picture on your website, 22nd of September 2015. The president visited Justice Ajakuma, the one who was shot during the Let My Vote Count demonstration on 18th September 2015. The man was shot in the eye. And, you know, earlier this year, he died.
Yes, he died.
The president said he will be counted as one of the heroes, okay, in our quest for better democracy and all this. So it's an irony that for a human rights champion during his reign, we are having a retrogression in our human rights credentials. So I think maybe he needs to appoint a human rights czar. You know, yes, Professor Atifa, though he's doing a good job at NIA, maybe he could be shifted, brought to the president.
Is it really fair to draw the president in this?
Yes, because let's come. Look, Samson, just where Honorable Kujetu left
National
off.
security operatives will not get up in the morning and report to him that we are going to arrest modern Ghana journalists for putting up an article we are not happy with.
There's ultimate responsibility. That's why it is. You see, we're excited to vote for the president because we thought that, this is a human rights champion, so when the president ascends to the throne, everything will be so good for us, you know? And then it's not turning out. He has ultimate responsibility. Continuing from where Honorable stopped, in respect of the National Security Secretariat, look, let's look at the architecture of the national security. There is a council, and the council is made up of the president, the vice, then the heads of the various security agencies, okay, and so on and so forth. Then they have a secretariat. So the secretariat is supposed to help, you know, put materials together, organize the meetings and all that. So why have we, over this period, allowed this secretariat to operate as if it's also a security force all by itself? Yeah. As Honorable referred to in the Constitution, it says that, look, there's no power to raise this in a police force unless the power is given by the Constitution. So, Samson, let's look at Act 526. That's the security
and we should also wait to see what the Emil Short Commission had to say about this particular issue because it came up.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Vigilantes. Look, the security, the National Security Secretariat. So as I said, it's headed by the coordinator, right?
Yes.
Now, the coordinator, these are his functions. I'll just summarize. That's section 19. 1, to coordinate on a day-to-day basis the activities of the national, regional, and district security councils and the activities of the intelligence agencies. So here they are talking about BNI and then the research department, that's of the foreign affairs, you know, those things. Then to collate and evaluate intelligence reports relating to national security. C, to determine in consultation with the directors of the intelligence agencies the manpower level requirements for the agencies. D, to assist the relevant agencies to gather defense intelligence. And then E, to perform any other function relating to the function specified in this section as directed by the president or the council. So the National Security Coordinator, these are his functions.
No, but the last one, it says to perform any other functions as directed by the president of the council.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes, relating to the functions specified in this section as directed by the president or the council. As we said, the council is made up of the defense chiefs, security agencies. So these are the functions. So please, this morning, as I said, I almost called you because I was like, has this law been amended? No. Because where is the power of arrest? Look, I've read from section 1 to the end. There's no power of arrest. It's the BNI that has the power of arrest. Okay, yes, that one because they're a police institution. Okay, so why would any look in the context of Ayawasu West? Yes.
Does it come within the? I'm just asking.
Yes.
For education. Does it come within the framework of national security?
Yes, that's the internal security organization, and then the research department is the external one. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
You got my drift.
Yeah. Well, me, as far as I'm aware.
I was asking for education. I said, did you get my drift?
Yeah, you see, you're saying that it's BNI that
if they use BNI.
No, he's saying that if BNI is within the national security arrangements, why will you say that National Security Secretariat cannot carry out police functions, and yet you say BNI can carry out police functions?
Oh, easy. The Act makes it clear. National Security Secretariat, for crying out loud, is separate from BNI.
But who is talking of secretariat?
Yes, that's
National Security Secretariat.
Yes.
Are they those who we are talking about? Do we know for sure?
Okay, so the functions you read, is it for National Security Secretariat or National Security?
No. The National Security Secretariat headed by the coordinator. Yes. National Security Secretariat headed by the coordinator. So the story we have here.
So he's making you a distinction. That the Secretariat is not the same as national security.
No, national security is too. Let's go into the architecture. There is a council, okay, and then beneath the council there's a secretariat that's responsible for the day-to-day management. So I'm saying that secretariat, obviously, from what we've been reading, they said national security. Oh, you mean if it was BNI? These boys' screens have said it was BNI.
Hold on. What Uncle Chris is trying to say is this: within that national security architecture, you will find BNI somewhere. Now the problem at hand. Can we really say that these arrests are being carried out by those at the secretariat, or when you talk about the national security in its broader sense, Could it be that it was BNI operatives who did the arrest, but in the name of, in quote, national security, since they form a part?
Kuku, has it got you right?
Yeah, there's a distinction.
Yes,
in terms of operation,
yes.
Sometimes in terms of operation, if you are not careful, you will see the line of the people could have been asked by the National Security Coordinator. We are doing hypothetical thing here. I'm not talking reality. The National Security Coordinator could ask the BNI director to detail people to go and arrest.
Yes.
And when they go, sometimes they pose as national security because of how. But in terms of the real, if you do investigations, then you will be able to tell whether this...
But does it matter now that knowing what we know from the Ayawaso situation, that the national security actually maintains a force?
Oh, that's a separate matter, and we'll deal with it. Okay. That's a very separate matter. And in the report, they have made a case on that.
Okay. All right. I'd love to hear that.
You have seen the report. You heard the report. Because we in Parliament are asking for the report.
Thank you.
So this is revealing. You are breaking
the government said you will not compel them to release it.
But how come Uncle Kweku?
You represented initially the two journalists, and then later, of course, because of what happened, you withdrew representation, and now you are stuck with Abu Ghraib.
What you may find now is that when I appeared before them, I didn't introduce myself as a lawyer. I think I may have been wearing this fugu.
Okay. Yes, let's go. Yeah, so my question is that when you went, where did you go to represent them?
At the police station. Ministry's police station.
Yeah, and before that, so from your clients, did they say it was BNI that arrested them?
No, it's National Security. And National Security has issued a statement.
Exactly.
I think that's not
yeah, so we shouldn't muddle it. Look, what is clear is that, look, National Security has goofed. We want to make it very clear to the Secretariat that, look, as far as my reading of the Act is concerned, they have no powers of arrest. The Secretariat
so can we look at the broader issue?
Yes.
National security, as we speak, every day,
yes,
people go there.
They can only
they have a place. They hold
That's people. Illegal. The cell is illegal.
No, it is not today.
No. Yes, and so we want to dismantle it.
And this has been with us.
Yes. So, and I thought that's why the president set up the Ayawaso West Wagon Commission. Yes, because we want to dismantle those cells. Because it's so illegal, and I'm surprised. And this is where, you see, bigger, you know, look, when it comes to these matters, I always say that, look, some of us are young, we are just at the periphery. Those who have the power and who choose to keep quiet, look, I think that we should read this because our society needs to wake up. You know that thing about they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak. They came for the trade unionists. Please, give me a minute, let me read it slowly. So that those who have power, because some of us, we are just, so to speak, what do you call it, small fishes. Right? So the big fishes should wake up. Look, it says what? First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So please, this is a clarion call on the people who have power in our society but choose to keep quiet. Oh, we don't want to get involved. People will tag us as NDC, MPP, and all that. Please, you should wake up.
The accounts we also hear, is it not material to take into account the denials and contradictions that are coming so that you don't speak from a point of sacrosanct, sacred fact?
Oh, so the denials. And, you know, as far as I'm aware, I just ask you, from what we know so far, is it BNI? It's been clear to us that it's not BNI. Is it the research department? You know, the security agencies, those ones here are two, internal and external. So BNI is internal.
No, that apart. I'm talking about the questions of, you know, torture, assault, manhandling, all those.
Oh, but the boys described it themselves. You see, they described it themselves. You saw this Roland Walker. They tried to simulate it. I mean, that it will qualify. It will qualify such degrading treatment. You know, even in the arrest, they were hooded with what? Black polythene. You want to suffocate them? I mean,
National Security says in their statement that acts of like torture are no longer a part of their modus operandi.
Look, in the first place, they have no mandate to even to have carried it out in the past as national security, as the institution set up in Act 526. No. if it's BNI, and you see the way the National Security Act is that if you want, like Uncle Kweku even pointed out, if they need such help, operational help, you go to DNI, or you go to DISEC, that's the District Security Council, or RECSEC, or MSEC, municipal. You see, that's how it works. But as an institution set up, you know, it's part of the civil service, sort of, right? As an institution, they have no right, you know, Honorable Okujeto said no business. Maybe let's just say legally, to make it clear, they have no legal power.
Is it not important to listen to Kweku again on this? That, like, and you just said, they can rely on BNI.
Yes.
So the person who comes to effect the arrest, like Justice Yangson was trying to point us to, could come in the name of national security, but he's a BNI operative. Or yes, or is it the case that because as a practitioner,
some BNI personnel are attached to the national security.
They are close with the power
to arrest. Or is it the case that you as a practitioner, you and I know that when you go to be a national security and meet and take clients and all of that, there are specific people who are always there. We know their names, you know them. They are the ones who are always dealing with your clients, they are the ones. So must we understand, like Kweku just said, that those people there are BNI operatives stationed at national security, or what shall we make of it?
Look, as for being stationed, the act is clear that persons, or anything apart from BNI, ordinary police, I have clients, policemen who have been seconded to be, this national security, so I understand a bit of it. So as for seconding all manner of public servants to national security, it's the law. But when you get there, the point is that, look, national security is not set up operationally to engage in arrests and all that. So that is wrong, and that is why we need dismantled. Please, for crying out loud, we need the president to step in.
Dr. Yangson, I want you to begin by wearing your medical doctor's cap. You are a physician. For now, if you can put your law aside a bit and assist us. Because of the questions that have come up of torture and all of those things, and we know that some medical reports are out. We may not be able to say whether they are the genuine or not the genuine ones, but you could tell that it's not in doubt. Do they give an inkling, slightest, to confirm the things that we have heard, this harrowing stuff? When the guy was explaining to Bernard Avle also, that was even more dramatic than what we see here. Yeah. What do you make of it?
Okay, Samson, let me put in this caveat first. We are all not in a position to really confirm or deny these medical report as being circulated around in terms of the content, whether it's genuine or not. But assuming without admitting that these are genuine documents, I would want to pose two simple questions. One, was it the person involved who released these things, i.e. the victim, or...
He did not.
He did not.
No, he hasn't.
You see, there are only two entities that technically should have this: the person involved and the facility. Now, per our Public Health Act, when you go to the section 167 and the 6th schedule, we have what we call the patient's rights, and it is enshrined in law that medical records are confidential material.
Even if the matter is such public importance?
Yes, hold on. And if it leaks, please, hold on. You can only release them with the consent of the person involved, or where you have a situation, a competent court of law has requested that these things be brought to the court or be issued for public policy considerations.
Okay.
So if somebody is breaching this, the institutions involved, the investigators, we should bear this in mind. Assuming, let's say, for some reason, the investigators had to go for this, technically speaking, from where I sit, in the legal sense, they even need to seek legal permission from the court to get access to those things.
But they need legal permission to take their laptops and open them.
Yes.
They have taken them without that. You are looking for legal permission.
But if you take them and you also decide to publish to the whole world, then you are even doing more harm to yourself in terms of what the legal
you are accusing them of some wrong, and they need to. They need to defend themselves.
No, but defending yourself does not mean that you should breach federal laws that are enshrined within our body.
Okay, so with that caveat out of the way,
yes.
What can you say?
Okay, now the content. Let's use the content of what we've seen.
Okay.
Assuming that these are a set of facts before us, and then we are confronted with a situation where there's been some torture or assault or whatever in terms of the description. Now, if you go through the details of what we have seen, there are certain things we need to bear in mind. The issue of time lapse.
Time lapse?
Yes.
Okay.
You see, when incidents happen, the evidence is best seen when you go straight to the health facility, at least soon after whatever may have happened. At that point, the medical personnel are in a better position to pick up all the signs and the symptoms that you may talk about. Now, when there is time lapse, some of these may have disappeared, especially where there have been intervening events. So when you get to that situation, the doctor will document what you are saying by way of your history,
right,
and then what they will also find on examination. Now, the fact that they may not have found certain things on an examination does not necessarily mean that they may not have been there at some point in time, because you came in late. So in this record, you see that the first time he visited the place was after some 3 days. And then the second was the 6th or 7th day. Clearly, that time lapse would have more or less marred some of the signs that you could have picked, because there have been intervening activities like medications and anti-inflammatory drugs, all of it being given. But the conclusion of it is that...
Okay, so you are referring the anti-inflammatory drugs. These were drugs given to him on the 3rd day
on the 3rd
reference.
Day. On the 3rd day. See, the issue is that the 3rd day...
Why will a doctor prescribe that?
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. Clearly, at the point that the doctor examined and concluded that there is some musculoskeletal pain secondary to some trauma, the doctor at that point could not really tell what...
Are you saying what you just mentioned is on the record?
Yes.
There is some muscular whatever. What do you say?
Yes, it's on the record. That's what the things that we've seen around.
Okay.
Yes. So what it means is that some activity have gotten to the point where the muscles, the bones, as in the body, is, in quotes, reacting in a way by way of response. And that is what you are seeing as pain and all of it. And the best way to cure that is through the medication, which are the anti-inflammatory. Now, when you are beaten or whatever it is, battered in any way, the body goes through the process of inflammation. So the swelling, the reddening, and all that you see, these are the signs of inflammation.
And you are saying...
And when you are giving the drug, it is supposed to help reduce that kind of inflammation.
And you are saying that on the 7th day,
yes,
if a taser has been used on you, there won't be, it is possible there won't be, it cannot be detected by
now
a medical process?
Yes and no. You see, now we are talking about tasers. Tasers are electrical, in quotes, in nature, by way of the activity. Depending on the intensity and which part of your body, together with intervening activities like your clothes being on and all that, you feel the shocks proper within the body. Okay, now we have what we call the, in quotes, the white society, the Caucasians, and in quote, the African or the black communities. Now, when it comes to the Caucasians, because of the way their skin looks like, when you do these things, it is easy to pick some of these things the very first day because the reddening comes up so quick. But all will also depend, like I said, on the intensity and the magnitude of the use of the tasers.
Okay.
Then, in the black population, some of these things, because it is something that you don't get so much of it by way of physical contact, you might not see it because of our dark color. But with time, you realize that if the intensity was that high, some of the areas where they were touched will begin to darken. You may now see that, look, even though it's a black skin or a dark skin colored person, that area is becoming darker than before. But that will come over a period. So, as far as the medical reports, as we have seen, are concerned, if we assume that these are the set of facts, it is not enough to rule out the fact that there was no torture or battery or assault. Okay. You will need further investigations, further evidence collaboration to ensure, to come to the conclusion that indeed these are the things that happened. And we bear in mind the fact that those intervening periods also did not, in quote, help us because some of the evidence could have been lost.
Briefly, and I've seen this statement by the One Ghana movement, the ones that called for lawyers to assist the journalists initially. And I see a reference to medical report. They talk about breach of whatever, but you have spoken about that, so I will ignore that. And then go to a portion where they refer to the medical report. They say medical report and related issues. The statement is issued today, and is titled "One Ghana Movement Rejects the National Security Statement and Demands the Video Footage and Commencement of Independent Investigations." Video footage, okay, we'll come to that. It says, Mr. Ajafo was first examined 2 days. Okay, you said 3. It's actually that. Like,
on the 3rd day.
They should, okay.
He goes in Thursday and then.
Okay. Mr. Ajafo was first examined 2 days after the incident and reviewed more thoroughly 6 days after. His first visit, which was on the day of his release, was a voluntary visit seeking to treat his immense pain. The second visit was in fulfillment of the need to procure the police medical report and attention for his increasing pain. The medical examination of Mr. Ajafo, after a review on the 3rd of July 2019 by doctors at the police hospital, concluded with diagnosis of 1. Musculoskeletal. Okay, musculoskeletal pain, secondary to trauma. The attending doctors indicated and same confirmed by our team of local and international doctors that the first diagnosis indicates the possibility of battery. This therefore does not rule out the possibility of torture as being propagated by some media reports. They however note that this is suggestive but not unequivocally diagnostic of the reported torture.
Okay, hold on. This is exactly what I was talking about. Okay. You will need further, information, further evidence to come to a conclusion. For example, if we were in court, a medical report sent to the court by the physician, technically speaking, does not bind the court. It is of a probative value that would, it is one that, based on the probative value, the judge will decide that together with other sets of evidence or information that has come before the court, will decide that indeed A, B, C, D have been confirmed. So
let me quickly read the next line. It said, the doctors also observed small lesions on both arms, which looked like insect bite marks. I remember that one. Insect bite marks. The observation of small lesions per our team of doctors suggests that Mr. Ajafo may have been confined in a poor and inhumane environment. The use of stun guns, sometimes called tasers, to transmit intermittent electric shocks may leave small skin signs similar to insect bite marks. The doctors also suggested that the lapse of time between the reported torture and presentation for a thorough examination, as well as being, okay, Dr. Yancy has spoken about this, but let me still read it. As he is being on non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs prescribed by the attending doctors may have masked any additional overt signs of the reported battery. It is instructive to note that Mr. Ajafo was interrogated on Thursday, the 27th of June 2019, and was not interrogated any further, but kept all through to Saturday, 29th of June 2019. He reports that the national security operatives checked on his health from time to time, guided him through some exercise when he complained of back pains, and fed him well on the Friday of his detention. Could this have possibly been to allow for swellings and signs of torture to recede or resolve? The doctor who examined Mr. Ajafo first prescribed diclofenac injection and subsequently Doretta tablets, which is a mixture of tramadol and paracetamol to help him manage his immense pain. These are very strong painkillers. In conclusion, the medical report suggests signs of a possible traumatized event and physical torture, but does not provide conclusive evidence. Okay, I think you have said almost all of this. So briefly, now wear your lawyer's cap and your citizen, individual, ordinary Ghanaian cap, and make a brief comment about what is happening. And he, Okujeto, referred to the rising trend and so on, and that journalists are being, I have been defending journalists, and I've been doing the cases since. It's not in this regime. So why are we looking at it in this direction?
Okay, see, Samson, here we are confronted with a certain problem. We all agree that this is not what we want for ourselves as a people. So at any given point in time, we should be able to hammer on this and ensure that we have solutions to them. Perfect. Ultimately, what will happen is that we'll have a better society for ourselves.
Okay.
And like you just read, today it may be somebody, tomorrow it will be myself. Now, I'm a union leader. I believe in workers' solidarity. Any worker who is tortured, beaten, manhandled, whatever the word that you want to use based on the particular set of events, I will not subscribe to anything of that nature. Because when you even look at the international landscape, for instance, I just returned from the ILO 100th anniversary conference. For the past 5 years, I've been part of.
To be there.
Okay, you missed a lot. For the past 5 years, I've been part of the Committee for Application of Standards. Now, at that committee, governments are hauled before, in quotes, the rest of the world. And issues of this nature are reported. And sometimes you see how difficult it is for the government reps there representing these various countries trying to defend themselves. Okay. But at the end of the day, it becomes so embarrassing. And we don't want situations where Ghana will be hauled there. There have been instances where Ghana has gone there on some other related stuff. But as these things happen, the world community is looking at some of these things. They are being documented. And sooner than later, we may have to answer for some of these things. But if you look at the whole chain, the breaches of human rights, for me as a lawyer, is where I think we should also focus on. The way and manner the arrest itself was carried out, I think that we should get to a point where our security agencies, all of them that are clothed with the power of arrest, should practice the right procedure for arresting people. Okay. And should also bear in mind that per our constitution, the man is not guilty until proven otherwise in court. Okay. So you are supposed to give him all the courtesies by way of his legal rights. Spell out everything in detail. Let the lawyers have access to them. There have been situations, I know you are my friend, you are my classmate. I know instances where these things have happened. You've even gone to the police station, introduced yourself as a lawyer, and you were denied access to your clients.
At the BNI.
I mean, these things have happened. You know, we are friends. Yes. Yeah. So we
tell you that your constitution doesn't work yet.
You see,
that time I'll say, yeah, at the back.
Yes. And constitution doesn't work yet. And when it happens to journalists, we are all worried because, like we've all said, I mean, on countless occasions, they are the fourth estate of the realm.
Okay.
It's and we want them to work in a very conducive atmosphere.
There is a statement, you know, on July 1st by the National Security Council Secretariat. Yes. That's to buttress the point that they were responsible.
Yes, I referred to that when you were asking about it.
Okay, but just to sum up, you see, earlier you said that the national security, in quotes, may have released these medical reports as a way of, in quote, defending themselves, looking at what is happening.
That is if they are the ones who did it.
Yes, but the truth of it is that if that was their intention, like we said, the medical report is not conclusive. It is not good enough to conclude that they did not do it.
Okay.
And I think that the core that we should have a proper inquest into all that has happened, so that at least we learn lessons and correct some of the wrongs.
Okay.
Is in the right.
Okay. Thank you very much. And you refer to human rights. I think this statement puts it in a picture that I even didn't think about. Number one, they say they raided the Modern Ghana offices and seized laptops and phones without a warrant. Failed to read Mr. Ajafor his Miranda rights during the arrest. Covered his head with a polythene bag during the arrest.
That shouldn't happen.
Unlawfully detained Mr. Ajafor for 2 days. 2 days. You know the law, it's actually 2 days.
2 days.
Yes. So
because the arrest
detained him
was
beyond 2 days,
illegal.
then deprived Mr. Ajafor access to legal counsel throughout the interrogation. Unlawfully acquired passwords to phones and access to his laptop and tablet. And they are asking National Security to release unedited footage of the interrogation. Is that to suggest, Kuku, do you know that when they are interrogating them, they take a video? We know elsewhere they do it. But let's start on that point. Do you think what they are asking for is possible? That they should release a footage of the interrogation so everybody can see what happened or did not happen?
Well, I'm aware that in some instances, and I'm not talking today, as history, there are precedents where people who have been interrogated were captured on audiovisual equipment. Yes, I'm aware.
They have that facility there?
Yes.
Well, some of these security agents,
some was even made public over the years. You know, so I would not be surprised if they are still doing it. Perhaps it's in their interest to do that. You know, but to demand that it's made public or presented to a commission of inquiry, there are two different things.
Okay.
Go and show on TV, I'm not sure about that. But perhaps if it's by an established body sitting on something, depending on how things go, it's possible.
Okay.
Yes, but I don't know if in this specific instance there's any
recording.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, so
see, but let me clear one or two things first. And it arose from Sami's presentation. Yes, I, as a journalist, and you don't ask me how I came by it, I have at least the executive summary of the short commission report. And if you go to page 18, it makes this recommendation. The commission recommends that the SWAT team of the National Security Council Secretariat should be disbanded and operatives be reassigned as appropriate. The commission further recommends that support for special operations should be sought from the specialized units of the police directly as and when necessary.
Interesting.
Then the other controversial or issue of genesis of that unit. If you go to page 40, it says, we find as a fact that this unit was set up in between 2010 and 2012. It is thus untrue that this unit was set up under the current NPP administration that took office in January 2017. Although Honorable Sam George asserted with conviction that the unit did not exist at the time he served in government at the office of the president, he was clearly mistaken because it did. Perhaps it may be their special uniforms that are new, but certainly not their existence.
Okay.
And significantly, you know, in the Constituent Assembly that gave birth to the Second Republic Constitution, this became an issue. Most of those who were in that Constituent Assembly were people of the UP variety. And they made a strong case that the National Security Council should not have a standing force. They used this as an argument against the Nkrumah administration, because Nkrumah had some specialized units, including the Presidential Old Guard Regiment and all those things. And they thought that enabled the president then to do certain things that were not in the national interest or violated fundamental freedoms. They voted on that, and it was agreed that the National Security Council should not have a standing force. Okay. Of course, over the period, we ignored that, and here we are with this that began 2010. See, I wanted one thing clarified. The One Ghana movement, who are they? Are they a medical organization?
No, they are not. Civil society organization.
And they speak about.
I've read a number of their statements.
They say they dealt with their international and local doctors.
Who assessed the victims, the alleged victims of?
No, the report we are referring to.
I am not educated, and I'm happy we have a doctor here, even though he's spoken. Your client, is he Seydou Abubakar? Really?
Okay, so if I may make this disclosure, I think I have his permission to do so because of the nature of this situation. So, truth is, he's recently done a change of name, but he still has all his ID cards bearing this name, which is his old name.
So it means we are dealing with the same person.
That's right.
This is interesting because it's important for.
But that was one of the reasons why I said we cannot tell, because the name that we had was different from what we were saying. But once you've clarified,
you've even read the campaign that he should be prosecuted on lying to somebody.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
For using a different name.
And then also, whereas I have to be very careful. I'm not educated on these medical reports things. But my understanding, I spoke to another doctor, that if you read this report carefully, it does not confirm the alleged torture.
Yes,
I think that's what they have
exactly
said.
what I was saying.
I think that's what they have said.
It's not conclusive, or it does not confirm. Because it does not.
Oh, okay, okay.
You see,
you are.
No,
you want to be categorical.
No, I'm not being. I'm saying what I've been told by another doctor.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like lawyers; they have different opinions. Judges even. Yes. But I'm saying, and fortunately, this is public record now. As a journalist, you don't ask me where I got it.
Also, this one.
It's all over. It's on social media.
Now it's out there.
So it's subject to proper interrogation. Because we have different interpretations, but I think it's clear here. Now also, the gentleman, the first Ghana movement, One Ghana movement, they're saying he went the first time visit was voluntarily.
Yes, for what something read, I think that you read something like
but you see, I want to ask.
Okay, so I'm being told that even this international doctor, we could speak to him, but you know, it's not necessary. I think we should proceed. We have a doctor here who has spoken to us. Koku has also spoken to another doctor, and there's this also this medical practitioner. He says, Samson, if he was prescribed diclofenac and a combination of paracetamol and tramadol, then anyone who went looking for signs of torture after 3 days was not serious. Yes, the point is, diclofenac would inhibit all the inflammatory markers, whilst paracetamol and tramadol would mar the pain. Putting these together, even with the best will, the patient stands little chance of watertight medical proof.
Yes, this is exactly what. What I've been trying to put across, that because of these intervening events and the lapse of time, you cannot take this medical report and say that based on this, it is conclusive that the man was tortured.
Ready on that.
At the same time, we cannot also say that it is also proof that the man was not tortured.
Okay, so but we need time to go to another issue. So thank you. Let's say,
he was arrested, detained 4:30 p.m. Thursday. Is that correct?
Something like that.
He was released Saturday morning, 9 a.m. That's less than 48 hours. He proceeded to go for what he calls voluntary examination. Why did he do that? The first port of call should be the police report. assault, get a police medical form, and go and deal with the issue at the appropriate place.
Actually, he says when he went there for this first thing, they did it for him and told him, we cannot do a thorough examination for you unless you have a police medical report form. That's why he went back and then got the form and brought it later.
We are talking of, and I'm coming to that issue, we are talking of a probe.
Yeah.
We want an investigation. We don't want, as you the banter between you and Sammy illustrated the point. You began to tell him that say alleged, and national security twice denied. I don't want to say I believe that 100%. Same way here. And that's why we are all asking for an independent inquiry.
But you see, just to say something, in practice, what at least we see often in the hospitals is that there are two ways. Some persons will come into the hospital, complain that, oh, I have been beaten, or this and this has happened to me. I'm in so much pain, stuff like that. So at that point, you as a doctor, you go through, you document as much as you can. And then when you are done, you inform them that, look, you need to go for the police to give you that form. In the process, you would have made a formal complaint. Some may even say, no, as doctor, as for that one, we don't want it. Some will also come in, having passed through the police first. So,
you see why I'm making my point. The point I'm making, we are talking here of calling, we are calling for an inquiry.
Right.
We are talking serious business.
Yes. But Doc, what you just said from his narration, that's what happened. He went, and apparently that's the hospital he goes anyway. So he went there.
The police hospital?
Yes. Okay. And then the one who looked at him said, okay, we'll do this immediately for you and take these prescriptions. But you need a police medical report form. And this was Saturday. The next day, Sunday, or was it on the Monday, he succeeded in making, he had to make a report at the Legon police station before the form can be issued.
Before you get the form, you need to have made
it. And then he got that. But when he got that too, the police needed him at ministries. So he had to go to ministries instead of going to hospital. Okay. And when they went there, and this is what they have done to them almost all the time. They can go there in the morning, they'll sit there until evening before they leave them. And the next day, Tuesday, they had to go back, repeat. In fact, Wednesday, they were supposed to be back there at 8. So he was advised, and I'm one of those who advised him. Police say, come at 8, don't go to the hospital. From there, you can come to the police. I think.
Okay. Let me just say this quickly for public education. I think we should take this opportunity and let the public.
Let's hear quick.
Just a quick. And tell the public that when issues of this nature happen, please make sure you contact the police as soon as possible.
Right. And I tell journalists all the time, almost all the journalists I've had to defend, I tell them this. They start running to radio to talk.
Thank you.
Instead of going to hospital.
What is?
Yes,
that is the key.
Yes.
Because it will help. If indeed we have to trigger this independent inquiry. You can't do an independent inquiry in a vacuum. It's going to hit the dead end. Because you will deal with issues. I've even heard, and you can confirm what the lawyers, you are thinking of even suing the state.
It's actually ready.
Yes, but you will need to back your case with very valuable. I'm not saying you don't have any other thing. I have no
way of knowing. There are various angles.
Yes, I don't know.
The human rights
abuses. You are right. In court, we will need the evidence.
But in court, the name of the game is evidence.
Right.
And in any case, I've made this point because I heard people making about the 3 days, 4 days, nothing will happen. But who caused it? You were not detained more than 48 hours. You were released before the 48-hour duration. It was your responsibility to do the right thing. And we're talking of a journalist.
Right.
We're not talking of somebody who doesn't know the rules of engagement or doesn't know the law. But I will not overemphasize that because that may sound insensitive. Perhaps to say that one is absolutely suggesting that he had not been touched. I wasn't there. You and I were not there. If I should borrow something from Dr. So it would be very, very bad on my part to be categorical.
And lawyers may not make too much disclosures, but there appear to be witnesses available.
No problem. That will help.
All that will help. But a bottom line, you would need, this is a very critical evidence.
Yeah, it is.
Medical report.
Okay.
Now the independent inquiry. It's an interesting proposition. And in principle, I'm for it. But as I've illustrated, we may have difficulties, challenges. Who sets up the independent body? We go to the Constitution, isn't it? Obviously, it comes from the presidency or parliament. Recommend, but at the end of the day, it's still the president.
Exactly.
I hope with the experience or the integrity of the proceedings of the Mill Short Commission, we will not come back bantering over whether if the president sets it up or not, it will not be neutral. I don't know if you are getting my
point. It depends on the caliber.
You see, I'm going there. But that's the point. That's the point. At that point. So it depends. It's the same president. Exactly. That's the point I'm making. Okay. That at least we have some precedent. Because you know there was banter.
Yeah.
When the Emil Short Commission was set up, people were tagged.
Yeah.
Apart from being very dismissive, the members were tagged with party colors. But the proceedings, because it was held publicly to held, we all saw that something good was happening there. Exactly. Their report too, actually, at least, nobody has it.
What do you think will happen? That his colleague denied, he denied, but now we can show the tape that he confirmed that something like that happened. There seems to be another actual video footage that people are working on. I think there's not too much clarity, where in the midst of about 6 people, he was confirming these things and how he was slapped.
You are the guys who practice in the courts. This is a witness, quote unquote, that lacks some level of credibility. It's obvious.
Agreed.
Was he lying initially when he said he was touched? Was he lying now that he says he wasn't touched? That's a credibility challenge.
He may not be a reliable witness.
Exactly.
Because of the circumstances.
That is the word I was looking for, reliability. It's out of the window for him. How did he come by the recantation? I don't know. Okay, but these are challenges. I'm not saying they are unsurmountable relative to a commission of inquiry or an investigative body, or even the courts. So here we are now, whereas the GG is calling for an independent investigation, which I would back in principle.
Okay.
Great.
No, I'll back. I'll back it.
Great.
Look, it's not just that he's a journalist, but being a journalist is also important for me. That's where I belong.
Okay.
But even as a citizen, he has rights. And since he's making a case of torture, I've been tortured before. Fortunately, mine was done in a public space, at the military barracks, the parade, so everybody saw it. Mauli Goka and the rest were tortured, but not in a public space. But the scars were such that they could not be erased. Okay? But in this kind of torture they are talking about, it appears to be internal, indoors. So that's another challenge. So here we are going to have an independent committee of inquiry or whatever. Then the lawyers are also thinking of civil or criminal cases. Educate me. Is all going to be held together?
Yes, at the same time. At the same time.
No conflict?
No, it's allowed.
No conflict?
No, it's allowed. You can do both at the same time.
I put my bet on the GGA call as a journalist. I will support it.
Okay. All right. I guess we can take a break here. But Kuku, there's this small bit I was saying that the way something happens to a journalist and then we elevate it to mean journalists, and that there's a regime sort of repression and regime attack and all of that. We know that by the Constitution, like Okujet Sami said, they put up the article, they were told to take it down, they took it down, and you don't like it. But the question really is, whilst he says they have the freedom and independence to put up those articles and they cannot be punished for that, journalists also have a responsibility to verify, even if the article is coming from somebody else and the content, you cannot vouch for it. Should you still publish it?
What an ethical challenge you are posing. I've done things like that before. And so sometimes when I'm doing peer review of fellow journalists, I find it very difficult. But yes, double checking, cross checking, authenticating, validating, verifying are very important critical ingredients in our work. And we are told so by our own code of ethics. But truly, I've just checked. Their stories were harmless, absolutely harmless.
To call him as a divisive man who was plotting.
Look, harmless, completely harmless stories. I'm not too sure it got to the goat of the defense minister, by the national security minister. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. It's what those stories, whether you are ambitious, maybe you want to supplant the president in the future or become the candidate.
And calling for your removal.
Please, those are harmless stories. Thousands of such stories are out there. Ministers are going to be worried about that. You can't perform any duty. So to be honest with you, and the Kandapa I know, I'll be surprised really if those stories worried him to the extent that he would trigger his boys to go out. I'm speculating now. I don't have the facts.
That's the difficulty of many because of his character and his. So is it possible that some overzealous guy?
It is possible.
You know,
it is possible.
And if that is the case too, and from the person you know, what should he be doing now to tell the public that I was not part of? I didn't do
well,
and
right
what
now,
should he be doing to those?
No, but right now I don't
agents?
even want to. Right now, I think it would be inappropriate for him to come talking about these things, the way things are going. We're calling for an investigation. I don't think he should be preempting anybody. But you see, there's one key thing that the journalists say they were called. They had calls, even if it was private calls. What we can't get is the conversation, the content of the conversation. But we can get the times of the calls.
Yes.
An investigative body or a court or of a competent jurisdiction can demand. So we will see. And through that, whether it was private or not, it can be declared. That indeed, national security personnel made calls to them. That's a vital thing we should keep at the back of our mind.
Can provide that information.
Yes.
Does that also affect the fear that the statement by one Ghana talks about that they have seized their laptops and phones, they can plant evidences on them to want to use against them?
Oh, it will be very difficult to achieve that.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult.
Okay.
I mean, people should stop this flight of imagination. You know, we shouldn't push it too far.
All right. So just a minute, and then we take a break. Yes. We'll not come back to the issue. Just a minute.
Article 1624 of the Constitution is very clear. Editors and publishers of newspapers and other institutions of the mass media shall not be subject to control or interference by government, nor shall they be penalized or harassed for their editorial opinions and views or the content of their publications.
That's not license for irresponsibility either.
I haven't said that.
Okay.
I haven't said that. But no government official, no agent of the state has any business calling editors to pull down stories. The National Media Commission is there. You can go for redress if you think you have been maligned.
Except that now they are
the
telling
courts
us
are there.
of cyber
cybercrime.
You know,
now we are moving from there.
So
and the courts will show.
And finally, Article 15. The dignity of all persons shall be inviolable. No person shall, whether or not he is arrested, restricted, or detained, be subjected to A, torture or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. B, any other condition that detracts or is likely to detract from his dignity and worth as a human being. Our Constitution is very clear. So, Samson, I know that Uncle Kweku has, tried to create, some notion of a difficulty, and we need that inquiry. We need that inquiry. Look, there are experts. There are experts in this country. No. Why are we? No. I get the impression. I get the impression. No. I get the impression. No, he's. No. But the way he's virtually discrediting the inquiry before it starts. No. As if there will be some talking about Chinese. As if there will be some Chinese war. There will be no Chinese war. Getting to the bottom of this issue.
So, Sammy, we'll take a break here.
Let's get to the bottom.
We can take a break here, but check this.
You will soon see on social media what he's saying.
No. Because he's an elder within this space,
yes,
and because of the influence he commands. look, we have been going to beg people for things journalists do. So if somebody can call you and tell you that I don't like this, isn't it better than later on escalating it into suits and all of that?
No, it's wrong. Let's not carry that
Thank
culture.
you.
To call editors to pull down stories. No.
I think that one thing that we also need to start discussing is the conditions under which people who are detained are kept in our cells.
Thank you very much. To return to Parliament, the new chamber, $200 million. We'll be right back.